Want to learn how to make these adorable Valentine's jars? Stick around and I'll show you how. The first thing that I'm going to do to complete this project is use two of the canning style jars that have the handles on them, as well as this heart vase. I'm going to go ahead and pull off the ribbon from the heart vase and make sure there's no paper on any of them. I'm also, for this next step, going to go ahead and take off these wires that are on the canning jars, because for the next step I'm going to take these into the garage and I'm going to spray paint them with a frosted glass spray paint. And the reason I'm going to do that is to kind of soften the red look of them, as well as to kind of hide the wires when we add the lights into them. So I'll be back as soon as these are sprayed. Alright, now that I have these painted, it's time to move on to the next step. The next thing that I am going to do is I'm going to take a couple letters that I've gotten from the Dollar Tree, and I am going to take this piece of a Cheez-It box that I have cut into a heart shape. Now for this I did use my Spellbinder, but you can also just cut a heart shape out of any thick box. And I like the Cheez-It boxes because they are just thick enough that it doesn't bend easy, and it actually is fairly comparative in thickness to one of these letters. Now I could have cut two of them, glued them together to get it as thick as the letters are, but this is a pretty sturdy, thick piece of cardboard, and when it gets glued onto here, it's not going to go anywhere. So I'm not worried about that being really thick and just unable to bend at all. It's just not real important to me. And Cheez-It, if you were watching this video, I love you. Alright, so let's go ahead and put a couple coats of paint on these to get them started. And for the first coat of paint, I am going to just use my tan. And you see me using this quite a bit. I really like the color. Alright, now that I have these painted and dried with my tan color, I'm going to take a little bit of my French vanilla, which I am almost out of. Ooh. Go, and I am going to mix it with just a bit of white. Okay, and now I'm just going to lightly brush across to give it kind of an aged look. There we go. Here are the finished letters and heart, and they're ready to go on the jars, but before we do that, we need to go ahead and dress up the jars just a little bit. So we'll move on to that step. For this next step, I'm going to be taking some twine, and we are going to be wrapping the twine around the mouths of all the jars. And to do this, I'm going to start by just taking a little bit of hot glue on the back of the jar. A little bit of hot glue there, and just starting out, getting that nice and snug on there, and then just winding the twine around. And on the heart jar, we're just going to go a couple times around. That's all it's going to take. And then we will go ahead and add a little bit more hot glue in the back. And glue that on there. Give it just a minute. And then we were going to go ahead and trim that off. Now the reason you're just seeing me pull this off from the side is I have a huge thing of twine that I use. So it's easier than trying to bring the whole skein of twine in to do a project. There we go. And let me get some of this cut off too. Go. And I'm just going to so there's the center jar, and then what we're going to do with this is we are going to glue this right there onto the center of the jar. Okay, now in order to glue our heart into the center of this, we're just going to use a little bit of hot glue on the back of our Cheez-It heart. And we're just going to center it and use some gentle pressure to get that on there. There we go. And we are going to do the same with the two jars and our letters. Now I'm going to come back in with the twine, and I'm just going to put the twine around the tops of the jars as well. Alright, here I have made some little twine bows, and I am just going to hot glue them to the top up here of each jar. Maybe, there we go. And I did not film how I made these bows, but I will in a future project show you how to do these. And you could also, if you wanted to, bring both ends of the twine around to the front and just tie them on. Just tie the twine together at the front of the jar, and you could do that as well. You just need to play with the twine a little bit, but it's going to do what it wants to do, and that's fine. It gives it more of a natural look. So there are my jars, and they're all finished and ready to be set up.